Hello everyone, welcome to Diksha online classes. Today we are going to go through a topic named animal diversity. This is our third lecture. So before proceeding to today's class, let's cover up what we have done already. Now, in the earlier classes, we have discussed what a kingdom is. A scientist by name R.H. Whitaker has explained what kingdom is, and he has said there are 5 kingdoms, namely Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae and Animalia. But according to Carl Woese, Archaebacteria and Eubacteria, which comes under Monera, are subclassified. So, we also classified it here. Protista, they happen to be unicellular just like Monera. But these organisms are not only unicellular but eukaryotes, unlike Protista, which is prokaryotes. Fungi belong to Mycota. Plants are autotrophs, whereas Mycota or fungi are saprophytes. This was the main reason why they were separated. So, these are photoautotrophs, whereas Mycota is saprophytes. Animalia are heterotrophic locomoting forms. Now, today's class, it is Animalia. So, we have already learnt Porifera, Cnidaria, Ctenophora, Platyhelminthes, Nematode and Annelida. In today's class, we will cover up all other invertebrates such as Mollusca, Arthropoda, Echinodermata and Hemichordata. In our next class, we will be covering up all the chordates such as Chondrichthyes, Osteichthyes, Amphibia, Reptilia, aves and mammals. So, let us start with today's class. The first phylum is Arthropoda. What is Arthropoda? Arthro means jointed, whereas poda means legs. So, when we have jointed legs, which is otherwise called as appendages, we understand this as Arthropoda. The most characteristic feature of Arthropoda is jointed legs. This is the largest phylum under Animalia. Question is why or how? We understand that Animalia is a very big kingdom, but in that if someone has to be largest, it means they have highest adaptability. So, we first see their habitat. Arthropoda is available aerially, terrestrial and aquatic. Name a place where there is no Arthropoda. You can't, because every nook and corner of the earth there is presence of Arthropoda. In aerial, we see lots of bugs, mosquito, honeybee, flies and so on. Terrestrial, we have cockroaches, we have scorpion, spider and so on. Aquatic, we have crab, lobster and so on. So, first of all, you can see that habitat itself is giving a lot of place and adaptation. Other than this, the habit we come across are they exhibit organ system level of organization. What do you mean by organ system level of organization? Here, one organ system, say for example, digestive system is in connection with respiratory system. How? Our food would not get digested in absence of oxygen. Similarly, digestive system could be connected with excretory system and so on. So, there is a organ system level of organization. These organisms are bilaterally symmetrical organisms, meaning to tell that they could be cut only in one plane to get a mirror image. These are triploblastic organisms, that is all three, endoderm, mesoderm and ectoderm, are a part of their whole composition as the dermal layers in embryonic condition. So, all three are present. Now, in last class we did Annelida, which was the previous phylum, that of Arthropoda. They were segmented, they exhibited metameres. In case of Arthropoda, the segments are present, but they are a little different segments. In case of Annelida, the segments went deep within, whereas in case of Arthropoda, the segments are restricted to exoskeleton. And as I told, these are eucoelomates. Eucoelomata means true body cavity. So, very important, it is true body cavity and not false. After Annelida, every organism or phylum which we will come across have true body cavity. Some of the examples are as follows. The first example you can see here is certain bugs. This is a lobster. Here is a living fossil. What is living fossil? An organism which should have been extinct by now, but due to its high adaptabilities and less predation and less competition, it is still existing. What is this organism? It is a king crab, also known as Limulus. Here is an example of grasshopper. So, you can see variety of animals in variety of places comes under Arthropoda. Next, we understand what is the exoskeleton present in this animal. This is one of the very important characteristic because of which adaptation becomes easy, that is exoskeleton. If you can revise back, Platyhelminthes, Aschelminthes and Annelida, all three had a covering of cuticle, which was mainly meant for moisture. But in this case, the exoskeleton is mainly meant for protection, and it is made up of a substance known as chitin. Very important question when you come to your first year. What is the composition of the exoskeleton in Arthropoda? 1 marker question. Answer is chitin. So, as I had already mentioned, jointed appendages is the most characteristic feature of any Arthropoda. Other than this, another feature which developed from Arthropoda was head formation. What do you mean forming head? We term it as cephalization, cephala formation or head formation. Very important that for the first time the body got divided into head, thorax and abdomen. Let us see a pic and try to understand. In the given pic, let us see first the bug. In this given pic, you can very clearly see the head is the place where you have a pair of eye, antennae and papillae. From head to thorax there is a clear difference, and from thorax downwards is the abdominal part. But look at this picture in the left, it is of a lobster. You would see that the head and the thorax are fused. We call such a structure as cephalothorax, meaning head and thorax is fused, and the abdominal region is separate and segmented. So, in Arthropoda for the first time you saw head formation, and hence in some forms head and thorax got fused, and in other forms the head is completely separated from thorax. Moving on, we have very good or evolved form of respiratory system. Recall back, in case of Platyhelminthes, Aschelminthes, we did not mention much about respiration. In Annelida, for the first time we mentioned that respiration happens through the cuticle. Now in case of Arthropoda, what happens? We have gills, book lungs, and tracheal system. Many types of respiratory system. Do all of them occur in the same organism? No. Organism to organism it vary. For example, if it is an aquatic form, we either have book gills or only gills, and if it is a terrestrial or arboreal or aerial form, we have book lungs or lungs. Where do you see tracheal? Tracheal also come along with lungs. Let us understand part by part. Very clearly, gills and lungs is the most modernized form of respiratory system, and for the first time we are seeing respiratory system in Arthropoda. So, it makes sense that this wouldn't have formed to the highest order. They might just be improvising. For the first time, assume that cells started differentiating to form gills or lungs. What should have happened? This differentiation would have separated the cells in such a manner, or in such a manner where layer by layer the slits were understood. These kind of forms where the differentiation is layer by layer, and the earliest forms were known as book gills, or in terrestrial forms they had book lungs. Now these separations, just imagine, went further on as branches, and these regions of branch formation was called as tracheal system, gradually which formed into lungs or gills. So, in this case, as terrestrial we get lungs, or in aquatic we get gills. So, what is the difference between book lungs to lungs? Book lungs is a primitive form of lungs. Book gills is a primitive form of gills. Since it looked like an open book structure, we named it as book lungs or book gills. So, you can understand we have a variety of respiratory system present in case of Arthropoda. Next, moving on, it is digestive tract we are discussing. It has a complete digestive tract, such as starting with mouth and ending with anus. So, already a very highly evolved form of digestive tract started off in Aschelminthes, continued in Annelida, and then moved on to arthropoda. But the question was, how was circulatory system? If you can recall back in Annelida, we had closed circulatory system. I also had specified that this is the only phylum in invertebrates where you have closed circulatory system. So, going back in evolution, we have open type of circulatory system seen in case of arthropoda, where it is a hemocoel. What is hemocoel? Heme is the blood containing part and coel stands for coelom. So, there is a blood coelom, blood cavity present. What does it carry? It carries hemolymph. Hemolymph, lymph is for white. So, white color blood is what we are speaking. There might be times when you would have tried to kill a cockroach and a white liquid splashed out. This is hemolymph. So, hemolymph is the type of blood what we see. Little away from the topic, I would like to highlight Aristotle, who lived way behind or many years back. He had categorized plants into herb, shrub and trees for the first time and animals into two forms, red blood and non-red blood animals. So, now you get it that arthropoda comes under non-red blood animals. Moving on, you can see the image of gills present in Limulus or the king crab in the first diagram. You can then see a book lung seen in case of spider. So, you can understand that they are not of much difference, but they are of layer by layer increasing the surface area for exchange of gases. Sensory organ is also very well developed in these forms. Look at a cockroach and then you understand this very well. In daytime, cockroaches do not come out, only at night it comes out. This shows that they can see, or their phototropic forms is very active. Their eye is very active. Not only that, you might have seen that cockroaches, before moving, their antenna keeps vibrating. They try to sense food, danger, that is predators, and also they try to find their own spots for living. Other than that, they have an excellent balancing organ. Balancing organ is more specialized in case of aquatic forms like lobster and crab. When they are in water, they need to balance their body. So, these are certain very important sense organs such as antennae, eye and statocyst. One by one we will understand. As I have told, the head region of cockroaches have antennae. This try to identify the food or any other substance which is present. Eyes are very unique. Arthropoda eyes are called as compound eyes in most cases. Very few of them exhibit simple eyes. What is compound eye? They have a lot of vision which comes together at a time. Now, the part what I am trying to draw, each one is called as omatidum, plural omatida. Now, this one, how many of them are there in per eye? There are 2000 omatidas per eye, because of which they see any image like a honeycomb and their images get processed in the brain. This is called as compound vision. As I have already told you about statocysts, statocysts are those balancing organs which help hydrophytes to balance in water. Excretion is also very well developed. They have different types of excretion in case of different organism, but few of them to mention is Malpighian tubule and coaxial gland. It is not only that we stop at what is the excretory organ, but we will try to understand what is the excretory product also. Now, excretory product in general, if you see the evolution, we see it as ammonia, uric acid and urea. I have already discussed in certain times that ammonia is highly toxic, whereas uric acid is least toxic. This is intermittent. Now, the question is, what type of excretory product do these organisms have? They have a variety of excretory product based on where it is living. So, if they are aquatic, they may exhibit ammonia as a excretory product. If they are terrestrial, they might as well exhibit uric acid as a excretory product. But an exception seen in two organisms, and mind you, it is only two organisms, that is spider and scorpion. They do not excrete either ammonia or uric acid or urea. These excrete out guanine. I am sure you have learned guanine somewhere or the other as a purine molecule which helps in formation of RNA and DNA. If you still can't recall back, it is with adenine, guanine, thymine, cytosine, uracil you would have learnt. So, that guanine is excreted by our spiders and scorpions. So, we understand in the downline of evolution, we have understood the fact that guanine is important for our body. So, other phylums do not exhibit the same, but these two organisms exhibit as guanolotelic or guanine as excretory product. Moving on, reproduction. Sexes are separate, they are unisexual or dioecious. They do exhibit sexual dimorphism, but it is very difficult to see until you see it very closely. It is not so easy to understand male versus female. But I would still like to give an example of cockroach and make you understand. Say cockroaches, which also is a unisexual form and comes under Arthropoda, the end region of the cockroach in case of male and female. Females are generally boat shaped because they lay eggs. So, they will have to have the eggs for fertilization and other things. So, their shape is a little broader and boat shaped, whereas males do not have any such work. So, their tail end is much tapering. Other than this, we can see that stigma cells or anal cerci are being present in case of males, but absent in case of females. So, to identify any Arthropoda, whether it is male or female, we have to see their tail end or the anal part. Okay, understanding that these exhibit sexual dimorphism and these are two different organisms, unisexual forms, sexual reproduction takes place and fertilization is 100% internal and embryogenesis is oviparous type. What is oviparous? Egg laying animals, and development could be direct or indirect. Again, to understand this, when I say development is direct, it means no larval form. Indirect larval form is present. If present, the larval form is named as nymph. Nymph larval form, in most cases you can see a miniature size of adult with one or two parts missing. Example, in cockroaches you do not see wings in a nymph. So, this is how a nymph differs from other forms. So, you can see many more examples here. The first example is a lobster, and you can see the statostus organ present in this region. You can see another octopus here, where again you can see that more important secretory parts are here. Now, when I say these animals are spread all throughout the nature, it means that certain forms may be helpful, certain other forms may be very harmful. So, we will try to understand the economic importance of these organisms. Always remember, in economic importance we just not tell always what is good, but we also highlight what is not good. So, start off with Apis. Apis indica is honeybee, and this is the most commonest type of honeybee we see in India. Bombyx is a silkworm. We know the importance of silkworm as well. Lacifer or lac insect. Now, students, you would have applied various creams. One such cream is lactocalamine, or various other ointments which consist of secretion of lac. The name lac comes from there. These animals, the female is non-motile and male is motile, but the secretion of these animals is what is collected, and it is a medicinal medicinal substance. It is very good for skin. In many ointments and creams, this secretion is seen. But as I told, life is not always good. We have helping arthropods such as Apis indica, Bombyx mori, Lacifers, but similarly they also cause harm. Arthropodas work like a vector in transmitting malaria, dengue, chikungunya, filariasis and many other diseases. So, female Anopheles mosquito helps in spreading Plasmodium, which causes malaria. Culex mosquito helps in spreading Wucheria bancrofti, which is a nematode for causing filariasis. Aedes mosquito is a vector for the viruses which causes dengue and chikungunya. So, one by one I will write it down. So, we have first, and always remember that never it is a male mosquito which is a vector. I will explain you exactly what is the reason to this. So, just mentioning up female Anopheles mosquito, Culex mosquito and Aedes mosquito. This causes malaria, Culex causes filariasis or elephantiasis. You would have seen in this case the locomotory organ till the groin region gets swollen up. In case of Aedes mosquito, it causes dengue or chikungunya. Now, the question was, why only female mosquitoes? Understand one thing, that mosquitoes are not parasites every time. They are not obligatory parasites, they are facultative parasites. Male mosquito feed on cell sap of a plant. Female mosquito also feeds on cell sap of a plant. But when it wants to reproduce, it requires a lot of energy. Only at this time the female mosquito tends to bite us and suck blood, and they become sanguivores. And at this time they spread diseases, and hence it is very mandatory for us to mention these are female animals which acts like vector. Locusta or locust is a gregarious pest. If this organism enters into a field, the field is dead. The farmer will have to face a very heavy loss, because this will completely eat away the crop. And as we have already discussed, living fossil Limulus or a king crab are some of the examples of arthropoda. I hope arthropoda is very clear to you all. We are moving on to the next phylum, Mollusca. Mollusca happens to be the second largest phylum, and these are mainly aquatic forms. Very few forms we see is terrestrial like snails, but even if it is terrestrial, they prefer moisture environment and some form of water source nearby. So, let us see one by one their habit. These are again bilateral symmetry, triploblastic, eucoelomate, organ system level of organization. I hope by now you have got all these words. Moving on, body is unsegmented, but since we have started a trend of segmentation since Annelida, there is segments present, but not on the body but on the shell. So, shells are segmented and body is not segmented. It is not segmented to a high degree of head, visceral mass and muscular foot all looks almost similar like a lump. But these are the only three parts which we can understand. So, what are the three parts of a mollusca? Head, visceral mass and muscular foot. Some of the examples you can see here: pearl oyster, cuttlefish, dentalium and Chaetopleura. Now, each of them has its own importance. We all understand the importance of pearl. So, pearl oyster today, it is not only the natural ones we see in deep oceans, they are also culturing it to get pearls. Cuttlefish in most cases is consumable. Dentalium is also called as Dentalium elephantum. I hope you get the meaning of it because you can see the shape of it. It is the shape of an elephant tusk, very small but looks like a miniature size of elephant tusk. Chaetopleura is also called as chitin. A very important characteristic of chitin is they have 8 shell plate: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So, very important feature of chitin. Moving on with the general characteristic, body is covered with a calcareous shell. As I told, this is the part which is having sections or segment. This is secreted by the mantle. So, mantle itself secretes its own shell. Now, you all would have seen small little shells in the form of conch. You would have seen a bigger conch also. Have you imagined how this small conch became into big conch? Small conch basically has a small organism within. As the organism is growing, it does not get enough space to live in this. So, this mantle starts secreting the bigger part of the shell and the animal moves out. So, gradually as the animal is moving out and becoming bigger, so is the shell shape and size becoming bigger. Otherwise, if you remove the shell, the mantle is very soft and spongy layer of skin with visceral hump. What is visceral hump? It is in association with digestive system. In most cases, it is formed with the help of smooth muscle. So, this is visceral hump. Mantle cavity has feather-like gill called ctenidia. Again another one marker question. What is ctenidia? It is gills. Where is it present? Now, this is another question you might be wanting to remember. In case of chordates, the gills and the gill slits are near the neck region. But in case of invertebrates, the respiratory organ is pushed near anus. So, if you see here, gills called ctenidia and respiration and excretion both are happening with that because it is pushed almost till the end. So, you can see the structure of a mollusca. So, you have the mouth here, This entire region is the mantle, if you can make out, and mantle secrete the secretions which form the outer shell. Look at Ctenidia. Isn't it leaf-like with veins? This Ctenidia helps in respiration and excretion both. Now, what type of digestive system does it have? We start with our mouth. Mouth has a rasping organ called radula. This is another one marker question you might want to remember. What is the type of mouth? Look at the type of mouth here. The layering teeth like structure is present. It is called as rasping mouth, which is radula. Otherwise, it is having a complete digestive system, and as usual, as I told, except Annelida, all other invertebrates have open circulatory system. Excretion takes place with the help of kidney and special organs, Ctenidia. Now, what could be the excretory product? We understand that these are mostly aquatic, and the excretory product in most cases is ammonia. Other than that, very few organisms also exhibit excretory substance as amino acid. But as I told, very few substances do such a form of excretion. So, here is a look of rasping organ, the radula, the mouth. So, this is the mouth, this is the food it is trying to eat, and look at the mouth setting, and you can see how it is moving in. Doesn't it move like some kind of a machinery in an industry? Yes, it moves in the same manner. Reproduction, it is sexual. These organisms are unisexual, but I cannot be very confident on the fact that they are sexual dimorphic, because all looks almost similar. They lay eggs, and hence it is oviparous form. Their fertilization could be internal or external. As I told, they live in water. So, fertilization could be inside the body or outside the body. And development also is the same. It could be direct or indirect based on organism. Examples: Pila the apple snail, Pinctada the pearl oyster, and so on. We are moving on to the next phylum, Echinodermata. Echinodermata is the last phylum in invertebrates if we are not considering Hemichordata. And as I have told you during the introductory session, that Hemichordata for a very long time was under a part of Chordata itself, but now it is separated. Now, what is echino? Echino means spine. What is dermata? Means derma, skin. So, can I say it is a spined skin or skin with spines? Yes. Other than that, if you are seeing the habit of it, it is organ system level of organization. It is triploblastic, eucoelomate animal. You might be wondering that ma'am has forgotten to give triploblastic. No, I haven't forgotten. These are not triploblastic. I was speaking of bilateral symmetry. No, these are not bilateral symmetry. These are radial symmetry. What type of radial symmetry? It is very specifically pentaradial symmetry. They have tentacles or any extensions in multiples of 5. For example, starfish. Starfish looks something like this, just like a star. And how many extension? 5 of them. So, they are pentaradially symmetrical. Echinodermata is a setback in evolution, but still we learn Echinodermata as the last phylum. Reason? Bilateral symmetry is seen in case of larvae. Their adults are pentaradial, but their larvae are bilateral bilateral. So, you can see examples here. You have Cucumaria, or what we call it as sea cucumber. We also have Ophiura, which looks almost similar to starfish, except that in Ophiura you have a disc and then extension. In starfish, this disc is absent. Digestive system is complete, where the digestive duct, which is straight or coiled. Now, you should understand that this organism has a lot of difference. It cannot be straight to straight because it is pentaradial. So, all 5 should have got equal amount of food, nourishment and everything. So, in this case it could be coiled like this to each of them separately, or it could be straight structures to each of them separately. Now, if you are looking at these organisms, again I try to give you, say this is your starfish and this is the oral side of it or the ventral side of it. If you tilt the starfish, you could see this. You could see a small opening, then a pipe like structure which connects all throughout. This is called as vascular system, water vascular system. How different is it from porifera? In porifera you have canals, here it is a system. This system is also called as ambulacral system, which is the coelomic origin, meaning to tell it is the body cavity. Around these you can see there is presence of numerous tube feet, which is mainly meant for locomotion. The system also is concerned with respiratory and excretion. Why? Because this is aquatic marine form, water moves through these ambulacral glands and come out of it, because of which it is very important type of coelomic cavity. You can see here in this picture, very nicely given, assuming this is our starfish just like this being present around. To make it work, make it understand, I see that these are all interconnected, and just not interconnected, you are having beside that tube feet coming into picture. Continuing, locomotion is with the help of tube feet or what we call it as podia. Endoskeleton is absent, but on the other hand there is presence of spine as exoskeleton. Now the question is, what is the composition of this spine? It is calcium carbonate. So you can see there is lot of similarities between porifera to echinodermata, except that echinodermata is bilaterally symmetrical in larval stage. These exhibit high power of regeneration. I do not think for a long time I have used this word regeneration. Last I used was in Annelida, where I said only the prostomium has capacity to regenerate. Otherwise, all the higher forms exhibit only one form of reproduction, that is sexual reproduction. Other than this, this kind of regeneration capacity or cutting out of its own body part is seen in these organisms, and it is called as autogamy. Autogamy, generally auto means yourself, autotomy means cutting your own self, self cutting. Why? Due to defense. I will take a off topic example to make you understand this. Lizards at home try to chase it. You will see the lizard wants to distract you, so it cuts its own tail and the tail starts jumping. When your eyes goes on the tail, the lizard runs away. Similarly, in this case also autotomy is seen with high capacity of regeneration. So you can see in this diagram how clear the tube feet are. Very nicely it is arranged. Sexes are separate, which is dioecious. They exhibit sexual reproduction. Fertilization is 100% external because of aquatic habitat. Development is indirect. You should understand, if there is no larval stage, the entire bilateral symmetry part is missing. So, 100% it is larval stage and the larva is a free swimming type. Example under this is Asterias starfish, Echinus sea urchin, Antedon sea lily, Cucumeria sea cucumber and Ophiura brittle star. So, I hope you have understood this. Moving on to the last phylum for the day is Hemichordata. Earlier this chordata was a part of Hemichordata was all a part of Chordata, a primitive chordates, but now it is being separated as a different phyla. It lives in marine habitat and there is no too many organisms what you could learn here. We have two organisms, Balanoglossus and Saccoglossus. How do they look? Balanoglossus and Saccoglossus are two examples under this. How do they look? They have three parts: proboscis, collar and trunk. So, if you actually want to draw, you just draw this. So, this is how it looks. This is your proboscis, here is your collar and this is your trunk. Proboscis is the excretory organ in this case. Other than that, habit is same. It is bilaterally symmetrical, triploblastic, eucoelomate, organ system level of organization. So, you can see the pic here very clearly: proboscis, collar and tail. This is Saccoglossus. In Saccoglossus, you have a little longer proboscis when compared to Balanoglossus. Moving into the characteristic features, as I told, it is marine form and exhibits organ system level of organization. We have to understand now other features. For example, respiration. Since it is aquatic form, it must have gill slits, and gill slits is pharyngeal gill slits. This was one of the most important characteristics which made it look like chordates. Circulatory system still remained open. Excretory system was proboscis gland. So, here is the Balanoglossus. You can see only the proboscis looks smaller, otherwise it is the similar type of organism. In this also, sexes are separate. So, these happen to be dioecious or unisexual. Other than this, fertilization is external because they are marine forms. Development is indirect, which includes larva. Always remember, example are Balanoglossus and Saccoglossus. So, this is how it looks. This is the organism and these are the larval stages with the section. So, I hope today you have understood all the topics. We have learnt Arthropoda, Mollusca, Echinodermata and Hemichordata, 4 phylums. Now, for the online class, let us prepare certain objective questions. Name the largest phylum in animal kingdom. Options are Annelida, Mollusca, Arthropoda, Aschelminthes. Question 2. The process of shedding the chitinous exoskeleton at intervals is called molting, ecdysis, autotomy or both A and B. One of the following is the most significant feature in Arthropoda: molting, setae, ctenidia or jointed legs. Question 4. Which of the following substance is associated with exoskeleton of Arthropoda: pectin, chitin, chondroitin or cellulose? Question 5. Which one of the following represents the body cavity in Arthropoda: hemocoel, spongocoel, gastrocele or coelom? What is hemocoel? Coelom filled with colorless blood, coelom filled with colored blood, or coelom filled without blood, or acoelomate condition. One among which one of the following is an example for an animal with hemocoel? Earthworm, hydra, sponge, or cockroach? Question 8. Blood in arthropoda is called hemolymph, heme, lymph, or hemocoel. Question 9. Name the respiratory organ in scorpions: trachea, book lungs, pulmonary lungs, or gills. Question 10. Which one of the following is the excretory organ in arthropoda? A. Coaxial gland, B. Nephridia, C. Malpighian tubule, D. Coaxial and Malpighian glands. Name the second largest phylum among invertebrates is your 11th question. Answers are Annelida, Nematoda, Mollusca, or Arthropoda. Question 12. What is radula? Mantle, modified foot, viscera, characteristic rasping tongue. Question 13. The members of which one of the following phyla are found exclusively in marine habitat? A. Porifera, B. Coelenterata, C. Mollusca, D. Echinodermata. Question 14. Which type of the symmetry is seen in adult echinoderms? A. Bilateral, B. Radial, C. Asymmetry, D. None of these. Last question. Autotomy is seen in which of the following phyla? A. Protozoa, B. Porifera, C. Mollusca, or D. Echinodermata. All the best students. Let's meet up in the online class.